A wealthy woman demanded I give up my reserved spa appointment, snapping, "I don't wait for anyone." When the receptionist refused, she scoffed, "I'll have you fired." Moments later, the spa owner walked out and kissed me. Her face went white as he smirked. "Actually, she's my wife. You can leave." I never thought a simple spa appointment could lead to such a dramatic encounter, but life has a way of throwing surprises when you least expect them. Living in New York City, the hustle and bustle can be overwhelming, and finding moments of tranquility becomes essential. That's why I was thrilled when I secured a Saturday afternoon appointment at Serenity Spa, a renowned oasis nestled in the heart of Manhattan. Serenity Spa, located on the Upper East Side, is famed for its calming ambience and top-notch services. The interior boasts soft, muted tones, gentle lighting, and the faint aroma of lavender that immediately soothes anyone who steps through its doors. After a grueling week filled with deadlines and endless meetings, I was eagerly anticipating my deep tissue massage, hoping it would knead away the accumulated stress. Arriving 15 minutes early, I stepped into the spa and was greeted by Lila, the ever-smiling receptionist whose warm demeanor always set the tone for a relaxing experience. "Good afternoon. You must be, your name. We have you booked for a 2 p.m. deep tissue massage with Alex," she confirmed, her fingers dancing over the keyboard as she pulled up my appointment details. "That's correct," I replied, returning her smile. "I've been looking forward to this all week." Lila handed me a plush robe and guided me to the waiting area, a serene space adorned with comfortable loungers, soft instrumental music playing in the background, and a selection of herbal teas. I selected a chamomile blend, its warmth seeping into my palms as I settled into a chair, letting the tranquility wash over me. Just as I was beginning to unwind, the spa's entrance door swung open with a force that disrupted the peaceful atmosphere. A woman, appearing to be in her late 50s, strode in with an air of entitlement that was hard to ignore. She was impeccably dressed in a tailored Chanel suit, her Louboutin heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Diamond earrings sparkled from her ears, and a matching necklace rested against her collarbone, exuding an aura of wealth and privilege. She approached the reception desk, her posture upright, exuding confidence that bordered on arrogance. Placing her Hermes handbag on the counter with a deliberate thud, she addressed Lila without so much as a greeting. "I need a massage." "Now," she demanded, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. Lila, maintaining her professional composure, offered a polite smile. "I apologize, ma'am, but we're fully booked for the afternoon. Our next available appointment is on Monday. I'd be happy to schedule you in then." The woman's eyes narrowed, displeasure evident on her face. "Do you know who I am?" she asked, her voice dripping with condescension. "I don't wait for anyone." "Surely, you can make an exception." Lila's smile remained unwavering, though I noticed a flicker of discomfort in her eyes. "I understand your urgency, ma'am, but all our therapists are currently attending to clients or have upcoming appointments. We must honor our schedule to ensure all clients receive the best possible experience." The woman's gaze swept the room and landed on me. Her eyes lingered for a moment before she turned back to Lila. "What about her?" she said, gesturing towards me with a manicured hand. "She hasn't gone in yet. Cancel her appointment and give it to me." I was taken aback by her audacity. Setting my tea down, I stood up and approached the reception desk. "Excuse me," I interjected, meeting her gaze directly. "I have a reservation, and I'm not inclined to give it up." She turned to face me fully, her expression a mix of disbelief and irritation. "Listen, dear," she began, her tone patronizing, "I have a very tight schedule. People like you can come any other day. Let me have this slot." I felt a surge of indignation rise within me. With all due respect, I replied evenly, "I made this appointment in advance, just like everyone else here. I'm sure the spa would be happy to accommodate you at their next available opening." Her eyes flashed with anger, and she took a step closer, invading my personal space. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she hissed. "I could buy and sell this place 10 times over. Now, be a good girl and step aside." Before I could respond, Lila intervened, her voice calm but firm. "Ma'am, I must insist that we honor our appointments as scheduled. If you'd like, I can put you on a wait list in case of any cancellations, but I cannot cancel another client's appointment." The woman's face turned a shade redder, her frustration evident. "This is unacceptable," she exclaimed, her voice rising. "I'll have you fired for this insolence." At that moment, a door leading to the inner sanctum of the spa opened, and a man in his early 40s emerged. He exuded a calm authority, his presence commanding attention. Dressed in a crisp, tailored suit, his salt and pepper hair was neatly styled, and a hint of stubble graced his jawline. His eyes, a piercing shade of blue, scanned the room, quickly assessing the situation. Is there a problem here? He inquired, his voice smooth and steady, carrying a weight that suggested he was accustomed to being in charge. The woman's demeanor shifted slightly, perhaps recognizing that she was now dealing with someone of equal or greater authority. Yes, there is, she said, her tone attempting to convey indignation. Your receptionist is refusing to accommodate me. I demand better service. The man's gaze flicked to Lila, who stood poised and professional, then to me, and finally back to the woman. I'm sorry for any inconvenience, ma'am, but we must honor our scheduled appointments. All our clients are important to us, and it's only fair that we respect their reservations. She opened her mouth to protest, but he continued, furthermore, I'd appreciate it if you didn't threaten my staff. She froze. Her lips parted like she was about to fire back another insult, but no sound came out. Her eyes darted from the man to me, then back to him. You could see the calculation happening behind her expression. Her voice dropped a little when she finally spoke again. You talk like you own the place. I do, he replied, without skipping a beat. Daniel Calloway. I built this place from the ground up. Silence. She blinked fast, like she wasn't used to people not folding under her tone. Then came the switch. She smiled, or tried to. It was the tight, polite kind of smile that looked more like a threat than anything genuine. Well, Daniel, maybe you can understand where I'm coming from. I have a very full schedule. I only stopped by because I was nearby and needed a break. You can call ahead like everyone else, he said, then turned toward me. And right there, he leaned over and kissed me. Quick. Natural. Familiar. Not some showy scene, but enough to make her jaw drop. She's my wife, he said, turning back to the woman. You can leave. Now, let me pause here and explain a couple of things. Yes, I'm married to the owner. No, I don't go around using that to get special treatment. I book my appointments like anyone else. I don't even use his last name at the spa, and I don't mention our relationship. We keep business and personal life separate. But this woman came in so sure that she could bulldoze through anyone and anything. And now she stood there, eyes wide, hand frozen on her designer bag, like someone had just told her the ground was made of cardboard. She left. Didn't say another word. Just turned on her heels and walked out. But it didn't end there. 3 days later, I was at home when Daniel walked in with a strange look on his face. Not angry. Not upset. More like, amused, but in a way that meant, you're not going to believe this. She's back, he said. Who? That woman from the other day. She made a complaint. I raised an eyebrow. To who? Online. And to the Better Business Bureau. You're kidding. Nope. Says we discriminated against her. That Lila verbally attacked her, and that the manager's wife assaulted her by being aggressive and confrontational. I blinked. She called me aggressive? Daniel handed me a printed copy of her complaint. She hadn't used my name, probably because she didn't know it, but she described me as a smug younger woman with an attitude problem, and Daniel as a man who clearly had no idea how to run a respectable business. Daniel filed a rebuttal and attached the security footage. And yes, the spa has security cameras. Discreet, but they're there. No audio, but enough to show me sitting quietly, drinking tea, and her storming in like she owned the building. No confrontation. No aggression from me. Just her, being herself. But then things started getting weird. Daniel's assistant, Marla, told him that she recognized the woman. Said her name was Veronica Lane. A name that clicked immediately. Not because I knew her, but because I recognized the last name. Lane International. Massive real estate. Old money. The kind of people who bought buildings just to knock them down and put up something new. Daniel looked her up. Turns out, she's not just part of the Lane family. She's the one trying to buy out the lot next door to expand one of their developments. Guess who owns the lot next door? We do. Technically, Daniel does. He bought it quietly a year ago. The plan was to eventually expand Serenity Spa, maybe open a wellness cafe next door. But Lane International had been eyeing that property for months. They made offers. Daniel refused. And now Veronica Lane, after being turned down publicly in front of several customers and staff, was going to war. It started small. Bad reviews online from anonymous users with similar writing styles. Complaints about staff being too cold, services being not worth the price, even claims of bed bugs, which was laughable. Then came a surprise inspection from the health department. We passed, of course. Clean as always. But the inspector seemed annoyed, like he'd been sent there on a wild goose chase. After that, calls from news outlets. Someone had tipped them off about mistreatment at a high-end spa. They didn't publish anything they couldn't. No one went on record. But the timing was too perfect. Daniel stayed calm through all of it. He's not the kind of man who shows his hand early. But I could see it was eating at him. Not because he feared her, but because he hated watching someone try to tear down something he worked so hard to build, just because they didn't get their way. And then she made it personal. Lila got served papers. A lawsuit, alleging defamation, discrimination, and emotional distress. Filed directly by Veronica Lane. It was clear what she was doing. Trying to break the weakest link, hoping the staff would start to crack. Hoping someone would say, maybe you should have just given her the appointment. But Lila didn't back down. Neither did Daniel. And neither did I. If she wanted a war, she was going to get one. But not the kind she expected. We thought we'd seen the worst of it, bad reviews, lawsuits, even press fishing for scandal. But then one morning, something new landed in our inbox. It was an email. From a woman named Jess Monroe. She introduced herself as a former personal assistant to Veronica Lane. That caught my attention fast. She said she'd recently quit, more like escaped, after working for Veronica for 5 years. Said she couldn't sit back anymore and watch Veronica keep doing this to people. Apparently, we weren't the first. Jess had receipts. I mean actual files. Forwarded emails, text messages, even audio clips recorded, she claimed, for personal protection, after years of being screamed at, blamed for everything and made to cover up messes. She said Veronica had a pattern. If someone embarrassed her, challenged her, or said no, especially in public, she'd go out of her way to ruin them. This wasn't new behavior. She targeted a florist once because they delivered tulips instead of peonies. That business folded after 6 months of fake reviews, anonymous complaints, and suddenly losing its lease. A private yoga instructor was painted as predatory on anonymous tip lines after refusing to drop everything for Veronica's last-minute class. But the most chilling part? Jess said Veronica didn't even care about the spa appointment. She didn't even like massages, the email read. She just saw you walk in with Daniel one day outside the spa and assumed you were his mistress or someone he was seeing behind his wife's back. She decided to stir something up. I remember sitting there, reading that sentence over and over. My stomach dropped. That's when it hit me. Veronica didn't just want my appointment. She wanted me to react. To snap. To make a scene in public that she could twist and use later. When I didn't, when Lila didn't fold and Daniel stood up to her, she escalated. Jess attached one more file. A video. It was a screen recording from what looked like a Zoom meeting. Veronica on one side. 2 men on the other, lawyers maybe. They were discussing us. I watched as Veronica, wine glass in hand, casually leaned back in her chair and said, she thinks being the owner's wife gives her immunity. Let's see how long that lasts when they're drowning in legal fees. She laughed. The video cut out after that. Jess's message ended with a short note. I'm not asking for anything. Just thought you should know who you're dealing with. I forwarded it to Daniel immediately. He brought in a lawyer the next day. Not just to protect Lila and the spa, but to begin building a case of our own. And it's a good thing we did. Because a week later, the lawsuit was suddenly dropped. Just like that. No explanation. No settlement. Gone. Which should have been a relief. But instead, it was quiet. Too quiet. Daniel's lawyer, a no-nonsense guy named Carlos, told us to stay alert. This kind of person doesn't quit. She pivots. And he was right. 3 days after the lawsuit vanished, a man in a suit came into the spa. Said he was a property inspector. Wanted to check on the building permits. Asked questions about load-bearing walls, fire exits, emergency lighting, stuff we knew we were up to code on. But the way he asked, the way he wrote everything down slowly, like he was hoping to catch something wrong, it didn't feel random. Carlos checked into it. The inspection was legit, but the tip that triggered it? Anonymous. Again. Then another call came in, this time from a city department about zoning violations on the lot next door. The same lot Daniel owned. They claimed there were unapproved storage units on the property. There weren't. But that didn't stop them from slapping a fine on it and putting a hold on Daniel's plans to develop the space. She was bleeding us slowly. Not through one big public attack, but through little cuts, paperwork, bureaucracy, whispered complaints. And if we didn't find a way to turn it around, she might actually win. That's when Lila, of all people, had an idea. She remembered something. Said Veronica had made a phone call the day she barged into the spa. She'd stepped outside briefly and shouted into her phone something about a meeting being pushed back because some clueless girl at a spa doesn't know who I am. Lila remembered because she'd told her coworker right after, that woman just threatened someone over a massage. Who does that? We checked the security footage. And there it was. Veronica, outside on the phone, pacing, loud enough that you could read her lips. You couldn't hear her, but her body language said everything. Anger. Mockery. The way she pointed at the building like it had personally offended her. Carlos watched the footage and smiled. Public harassment, caught on camera, he said. And if we tie this to her family's attempts to buy the lot, we might have leverage. Leverage. Not revenge. Not yet. But something. And we were about to use it. We didn't go public at first. Carlos said to wait, watch, gather, document. So that's what we did. For weeks, Veronica kept her pressure tactics alive. More anonymous tips. Another zoning claim, this time alleging unauthorized business use of the adjacent lot, which was laughable since the lot was empty. Then came the real kicker, a public letter sent to the neighborhood board claiming Daniel was planning to tear down the spa to build a luxury condo. That letter stirred up chaos. Longtime clients started asking questions. Some even canceled their memberships out of fear the spa wouldn't be around much longer. Daniel was livid, but he kept his cool. Barely. Then came the charity gala. Every year, the spa sponsored a wellness event hosted at the Sterling, a swanky rooftop venue in Midtown. Clients, wellness professionals, investors, the local press, everyone came. Daniel and I debated pulling out that year, afraid Veronica would show up and cause a scene, but Carlos said, let her. So we went. Daniel wore a classic black tux. I wore a navy satin dress, nothing flashy. Just clean, simple, calm. We were trying to project normalcy. Stability. Veronica arrived 30 minutes after us. Head high, red silk gown, matching lipstick. Like she was the star of a film no one else auditioned for. She didn't even glance our way. But the tension? You could feel it hanging in the air like smoke. At some point, she found the mic. She wasn't on the schedule. But she was Elaine. That name still carried weight. She took the stage, glass of champagne in hand, and started off polite. Thanked the hosts. Talked about her family's investment in urban renewal. Then her tone changed. Sharpened. It's important we preserve businesses that serve the community, she said. But it's even more important we ask hard questions, like who really benefits when a neighborhood starts to change? Who's building their empire on the backs of others? My chest tightened. Some people present themselves as healers, she continued, but hide behind wellness to mask greed. I think we deserve transparency, don't you? The crowd murmured. Daniel was already on his feet. I wasn't sure what he was going to do, pull the plug? Confront her? But I stood too. And then Carlos stepped up. Calm, cool. Tapped the mic and said, Veronica, I think transparency is a great idea. She stiffened. Carlos pulled out his phone. Projected a video on the screen behind the stage. It was her. On that Zoom call. Let's see how long that lasts when they're drowning in legal fees, her voice echoed across the rooftop. Gasps. Carlos kept going. Played a clip of her pacing outside the spa, waving her arms, yelling about some clueless girl. And then, screenshots of her anonymous reviews, all linked back to the same IP address. All verifiable. The crowd went silent. Then came the whispers. And then Veronica snapped. Do you people even know who I am? Do you understand what this place could be without them holding it back? Someone yelled, then why do you keep coming here? She turned to us, eyes glassy. You think this is about a damn massage? She was nothing, just some wife tucked into your perfect life. You never deserved all this. And suddenly the air shifted. It wasn't just about the spa anymore. It was about something deeper. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't flinch. He just looked at her and said, this isn't about me. Or the spa. It's about control. You lost it. And now everyone sees what that looks like. Veronica stood frozen. Her face pale. Then she dropped the mic, literally, and stormed off, pushing past a stun server and knocking over a centerpiece on her way out. Nobody stopped her. Lila came up beside me, shaking her head. I've never seen someone implode in real time. I wanted to feel triumphant. Victorious. But I just felt heavy. The fallout was quick. News outlets finally ran the story, using footage from the gala. The spa's reputation didn't just recover, it soared. New clients came in droves, supporting a business that stood up to someone like her. Veronica disappeared for a while. Later, we heard Lane International quietly pulled their offer for the lot next door. Daniel and I sat in our kitchen a week after the gala. The silence between us was full of thoughts we hadn't spoken yet. She really thought I was your mistress, I said. He looked at me, eyes tired. And she tried to destroy you for it. No, I corrected. She tried to destroy me because I didn't flinch. He nodded slowly. That scared her more than anything. I still walk by that waiting area sometimes and think about the day it all started. One entitled demand. One word, no, and everything unraveling from there. Lila still jokes about it. Should have known she was trouble when she slammed her purse down. Carlos got a bonus and a spot on retainer for life. Jess Monroe? She's now our new operations assistant. Turns out, she's brilliant and happy to work where respect is part of the job description. As for me, I learned something about strength. Real strength isn't in yelling louder or winning arguments. Sometimes, it's just in standing your ground. Quietly, calmly, and watching the storm crash into itself. I don't know what Veronica's next move will be, or if she'll ever show up again. But I'm not afraid of her anymore. Not her, or anyone like her. Not after everything we survived. Not after seeing what happens when the truth refuses to back down.